This is your MIcroFoundry system. Arrives in its own kit box with safety instructions, a manual for its use, taking you through starting from scratch to producing your own bronze or silver castings. Safety is paramount. We supply the safety kit for you. Heat resistant gloves, which will enable you to handle the furnaces up to 300°C. Safety specs, which you wear whenever you're handling anything hot. When you need to lift anything, crucible or whatever, use the tongs. The flask was the other thing I was thinking of. And particularly while you're learning to use the system, do make a point of checking the temperature of the furnace before you actually pick it up. So when you open the microwave oven, use this non-contacting thermometer that gives a digital display of the temperature at which the red laser spot is aimed, and you know where you're going to be holding it, so you'll be able to check the temperature before you actually grab hold of it. Lost wax casting starts with lost waxes. These are supplied for you. They're little wax patterns, little models of a Staunton style knight, which you're going to reproduce in metal. Anything that you can carve, you can produce in metal. The knight is held on the bench for you to attach the sprues, attach the vent, and to carve with a soldering iron, file, scalpel, anything like that, to shape the wax to be either a knight or to be a charm, something you can wear on a bracelet. And it's joined, welded, by melting the wax onto this sprue base. Once you've got the little model that you're happy with, you put the stainless steel flask over it, and that holds the investment. The investment is the powder which, when mixed with water and allowed to set, becomes the mould. That mould, when the investment is set, goes into the burnout furnace, which is, wearing your gloves, put into the microwave, and the wax is melted out, and eventually the temperature is increased until you've got 700 degrees centigrade on the flask, by which time all the wax has melted and burnt out. The residues have burnt away. The burnout furnace is larger than the melting furnace because its job is to hold the flask at a high temperature while the melting furnace is melting the metal. And the melting furnace holds this graphite crucible into which you put your silver grain, your bronze boat nails. Having weighed them out carefully, the crucible cover goes on, a ceramic fibre superwool mat goes on to form a gasket between the top and the body of the furnace, keeping the heat in and the oxygen in the air out. When you're ready, wearing your gloves, you put that into the microwave, and in 17 minutes you've got a pot full of molten metal. The metal is then poured into the mould, or poured into a little ingot mould when you're practicing, which will provide 25-gram nuggets, ingots of typically brass. Bronze and silver are quite expensive to play with, and so we supply BR10, which is a jewellery grade of silicon brass, which melts at a lower temperature than silver or bronze, and is easier to cast. It flows well, very runny when it's molten, and you can play sand pies, popping this into the mould, letting it cool down, tipping it out and melting it again to get used to the system. And all the rest of the consumables for you to make your castings. The flux required for bronze or silver, which is boric acid. Backwash is a release agent which goes in the furnace under the crucible, stop the crucible sticking to the furnace. Ceramic fibre paper stops the flask sticking to the burnout furnace. The internal hot surfaces of both furnaces are treated now and again to a 1-to-1 kiln shelf primer and water mix. That's the pink, salmon pink colour on the hot faces, which just keeps those nice and fresh and flat. And finally, enough investment to make 4 moulds in whatever metal you choose, and some pattern wax for you to do your own artistic bit when you're tired of, or when you've used our moulds, our models. You can make your own with this pattern wax. Comes in the box. Do keep it in the box, the furnaces particularly, because they don't want to get wet